I met Duane and Gregg Allman in about 1965, maybe, and down in Mobile, and then they came to Tuscaloosa, where I was living, to play a fraternity party, and I told Greg about my Hammond organ and what it was all about. I said, "Man, you need to get one of these," and he said, "I want to see it." So they came over to my house, and my Hammond was sitting there in a Leslie speaker, and Greg saw that thing going around, and I hit him a couple of Jimmy Smith licks, and oh man, he just had a fit. He just said, "I got to get one of them," and it was probably a year at the most. Later, we wound up playing together in the same band, of course, what became the HourGlass, and that's the first time he had got to play a Hammond regularly.
And it worked out where Greg did get it.
And he did pretty good with it.
Yeah.
I had a band called Minutes. We were on the road, and we were friends with the Allman Joys, and we were bumping into them everywhere. And so they were telling us how wonderful life on the road is. And so I'll never believe anything else anybody ever tells me. But anyway, we chunked it all. We quit our day jobs, and we signed up with their same booking agent out of Nashville. And so all of a sudden, we were chasing the Allman Joys all over the Southeast and Midwest, playing a string of clubs and all. And in the early of 1967, Eddie Hinton, our front man, singer, guitar player, left the band and decided to go to Muscle Shoals to be a session player. Well, we were stuck there starving for a few weeks in Johnny Sandlin's parents' garage in North Alabama, Decatur, Alabama. And Duane and Gregg had the Allman Joys going on. So one day there, in the middle of starvation, Duane called me and says, "Hornsby, how would you like to have me and Gregg in your band?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Well, we just had to fire a bass player, and Bill Connell, our drummer's about to get drafted. He's joining the Navy. And we need a band." And so, I mean, how long did I have to think that over? And so within a day or two, they drove down from St. Louis, where their last gig was, and they showed up in Johnny Sandlin's parents' house, and we rehearsed for about a week, maybe 2 weeks, and we took what material we had and what they had. And of course, we had how bands are. You play a lot of the same material, and we had a lot of tunes in common, and worked up a few new ones too. And first gig we played, they said, "Well, we can get a booking in St. Louis. Allman Joys always went over great there." So we struck out for St. Louis. And first gig we had a 2-week booking. Pepe's a Go-Go. And at that time, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band came through St. Louis on their first tour, promote their first album. And they ran into one of us at the airport, and they were invited to come by to hear us play. And so they popped in the club one night, and Bill McEwen was their manager, and he saw the band and just flipped out. And imagine going in and seeing the Allman Brothers band in a club the first time, what you'd feel like. And it wasn't far from that, Mm-hmm. And he went down next door or someplace and found a payphone and called somebody at Liberty Records, said, "I've just found the next Rolling Stones." Actually, what he'd found, the next Allman Brothers band, but it was closer. So we had a meeting on Sunday. He stayed over, and he said, "If you'll move to L.A., I'd like to manage you, and I'll get you a record deal." And so about 2 months later, we were in L.A., and he did, we had a record deal. Probably 2 weeks after we were out, we had a record deal. So this is in the length of time it took the Minutes in September to go on the road. We broke up, joined up with the Allmans. We're in L.A., and by June, we've got a record deal. That's a lot of stuff, but how many years does it take normally for that to happen? So that was the beginning of the HourGlass. And we wound up being out there, and I guess you'd say we were the very first, what we call Southern rock bands at that time. I mean, it wasn't called that, but I mean, we were playing that style of music. And on the West Coast, they were playing the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean and all this surf music was the big deal, and so, well, we were out of place. We were as out of place as the Pope in a double bed, and so I like that. I've used that twice a day. The producer didn't know what to do, and he recognized the soulfulness of Gregg's voice, but somehow he totally missed what Duane was all about. And Duane was really the highlight of the whole band. I mean, he was the stuff. Not taking anything away from Gregg, but so the producer decides he thinks that we should he wanted to cut Gregg like a soul singer and have him to front another band. Sort of like Tommy James and the Shondells or something. And they wanted him to come out from behind the Hammond organ and hold a mic and walk out front and all this stuff. And the first gig we played, which was a showcase for the record guy, and they had a runway out front, and they'd convinced Gregg to take the mic, get up from behind the organ, and walk out and onto the runway. And I remember we were playing "A Change Is Gonna Come" by Sam Cooke. Gregg could sing that song into the dirt, but here he is. He's out there holding this mic, and he kind of at the side of his eye, he looks out and he sees us sitting way back there playing, and his knees got to shaking. I think maybe he went down on one knee, kind of used a little showmanship, and he couldn't hardly get up. His legs were shaking, and his voice cracked then. And he was scared. I've never seen anybody so scared. First gig in Hollywood, California. And he said, never again, never again. I'm an organ player, and I'll do my singing behind the organ player. No more of this Tom Jones stuff, And somehow we got signed anyway. So producers still tried to make a soul band out of it. And he kept referring to us as a Motown band. So anytime you could think of the closest thing would have been a future Allman Brothers. Imagine somebody trying to take them in that direction. So it didn't work at all. And we hung with it out there, and we did that album, did another album. We got slightly better, but it was less than a year's time, and we had 2 albums, and we hadn't had time to develop the right material, and it looked like it was going nowhere. And we came back east as a little promotional tour, and the band went into Muscle Shoals, into Fame Studio, and we cut some demos and took it back to play for them. We said, this is what we sound like. This is the way we want to be recorded. And they absolutely hated it. They thought it was the worst thing I'd ever heard. And so we just kind of look at each other like, we're going nowhere fast. This is not, and it's not going to work out. And just maybe 3 months later, we left LA, came back, and were so discouraged, the band broke up. That was it. That was it for the HourGlass. Duane was in Muscle Shoals, cutting sessions, and he called me one day and said, hey, Hornsby said, man, he said, I'm going to cut some demos. Would you come up and play on some demos with me? He said, Atlantic has heard some guitar work I've done, and they want me to cut some demos to see if I can sing, just see what I've got. So I went up, and that was in the spring of '69. And it was an interesting trip. I was up there about 2 days. I had 3 pretty good job offers those 2 days I was there. First one, Rick Hall offered me a job playing in Fame Studio as a session piano player. He liked what I was doing on Duane stuff. And then I met Phil Walden. He came to town, and he was in the middle of signing Duane to a contract, and he wanted to put a band together around Duane. He loved what he was hearing that Duane was doing. And he asked Johnny Sandlin and I, would we get back with Duane? And so essentially he wanted to put the HourGlass back together. But, after what we just gone through, and I thought, oh man, and I'd already moved here back to Tuscaloosa, and I had a good band, Chuck Lavelle, Charlie Hayward, you can imagine, all these guys. And I said, no, I don't think I want to go back on the road. I don't think I want to do it. And so was Johnny. And he said, no, I want to do studio work, maybe. And Phil looked at me and said, well, if you won't play in this band with Duane, I'm building a studio in Macon, and I want to put together a rhythm section. Would you consider coming and being a piano player? And I said, Macon, where's that? And anyway, over the next couple of months, he'd call every day, and he'd sweeten the deal a little bit. And so in just about 3 months, I found myself living in Macon. And
by the way, some stuff we're talking about today is in Paul's new book, Fix It in the Mix, and lots of other stories of his life and recording career and some other things, some secrets in there he might have told on you.